So Adam Silver, at his Board of Governors meeting, held a press conference in which he was asked a bevy of questions. And keep in mind, for the league right now, this is a very crucial time. They are currently at the moment renegotiating a long-term television deal, while at the same time dealing with their current broadcast partners, consolidating and creating a collaborative app, which in a way kind of limit the number of bidders who could possibly want the NBA television product. But they have pivoted and created new real estate for streaming, such as the in-season tournament and also the play-in. And even with all that in mind, a seed that's been planted in the past and is finally starting to grow and show its potential is the WNBA, as it's been red hot the past few years with fan attendance and engagement, and now they're ushering brand new transcendent stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese into the fold. So things on that side are about to bear fruit. But Silver had a lot to say on these matters. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
The conversations around expansion will happen after the NBA media deal completes. I wonder what that process is going to look like. I think fans want to know. There's a lot of cities out there, Vegas, Seattle, Nashville, maybe Mexico City, that feel like they're prime candidates. What, from the league office, is that going to look like?
We haven't set that process yet, but just based on historical precedent, generally we formed a committee of our governors. Often it's either an expansion committee or sometimes an existing committee takes jurisdiction of the process. But one of our goals is to be very clear and transparent, because we've received inquiries from many different potential buyers in many different cities. And I just want to make sure everyone feels fairly treated here. And it's why I've gone out of my way when I'm asked to say, this is only on one track. There aren't private conversations happening right now. No one has an inside track to getting a deal done. That at the time we will, with our committee, look at the cities that are interested, talk to the groups that are interested, and then go from there. But we've really drawn a bright line here to say to potential interested parties, thank you, but we're not ready to start that process yet. As you said in your question, we do think it's important that we finish this set of media deals, in part so that any possible potential buyer, and we understand what the economics are, so nobody's guessing as to what and media is our most important form of revenue, so then that will be known as we're assessing what the value is of a potential expansion team.
So once they get the brand new TV deals done, if they decide to have two brand new franchises enter in, those owners will have to make up the difference in them splitting the pie up 32 ways. And as far as Mexico City, that would be a good thing for the league, but at the same time, the governments in Mexico are not in full control of the country when dealing with those cartels, but they do have the population. And as far as travel, that's going to be important. The airport, do they have access to international travel, which I'm sure they do? That's going to be a major thing for a lot of these cities, because now the NBA is globalized. In the past few seasons, we've seen fans hold up signs throughout various arenas in the United States that they've traveled for over 60,000 miles to come to see a lot of these players. So the audience now is becoming way more globalized, and it's almost become a pilgrimage for a lot of the global audience to take the trips to Indianapolis, Oklahoma City, LA, New York, Miami to come see their favorite players. And make no mistake about it, the global audience does not necessarily care about Oklahoma City or Indiana being a small market place. They're specifically coming to see the stars.
I'm always surprised in any individual circumstance. If you look at the history of sports betting, prior to the mass legalization, it was always legal in Las Vegas, but the mass legalization of it in the United States, there have been incidents. We've had incidents, obviously, with an official. I mean, this is not new, that there's unsavory behavior, even illegal behavior around sports betting. I guess my point is that to the extent it's going to exist, that if you have a regulated environment, that you're going to have a better chance of detecting it than you would if all the bets were placed illegally. And as to your question about the consequences, I have enormous range of discipline available to me, but it's cardinal sin, that what he's accused of in the NBA, and the ultimate extreme option I have is, to ban him from the game. I mean, that's the level of authority I have here, because there's nothing more serious, I think, around this league when it comes to, gambling and betting on our games, and that is a direct player involvement. And so investigation is ongoing, but, the consequences could be very severe.
And this will be a conundrum the league will continue to face, because at the end of the day, they're trying to corporatize a marketplace that's not really corporate at all. The gambling ecosystem has an aspect of the underworld within it, very similar to the strip club. It's going to have an aspect to maybe dope boys coming in there, or pimps, or prostitution. The underworld surrounds that environment, and it's very similar to gambling. There's addiction, there's alcoholics, there's drug abuse, there's organized crime, and that organized crime could even reach to a point where a player may get kidnapped, or his family gets threatened and he has no choice but to help someone out with their parlays. So the league is definitely in a balancing act, trying to kind of corporatize and reap the benefits of an underworld, I should say. It's very hard to corporatize certain marketplaces, and we kind of see it play out in the hip hop sphere. As far as Drake, the fact that hip hop has had a #1 artist for over 15 years is very inorganic to that culture. And with Kendrick Lamar going back and forth with Drake, you see the whiplash effect. There's a large portion of that hip hop culture, in a way, kind of resents Drake for that inorganic kind of corporatized image that he's done to that culture. So again, the NBA and their sponsors are really trying to corporatize the gambling aspect, when even the casinos out in Las Vegas, they have connections to the underworld. They have certain insight. They may have to make cash payments to certain people to prevent certain things from happening. So they have direct ties to all these things, but it's not buttoned up to the way in which it could be presented on television, like the NBA. That's going to be a conundrum that the league will continue to face. That Jonte Porter situation is not going to be the last one.
I was just going to ask really quickly. I believe you told the Pat McAfee show that you had no idea about Spulu, the product from Fox, ESPN, and Warner Bros. Discovery when it was announced. I wonder what your thoughts are on it now and how that affects media negotiations.
Yeah, all I said on Pat McAfee show is that I had no prior knowledge before it was announced, and we were informed by our partners then. And I know now, that they've moved forward. They've in the process of hiring a management team. So other than that, I don't know too much more about it.
That's a good fucking question by that reporter, man. I'm not going to lie. He's been on point. And Silver even now is still stating that he was not aware upon the announcement, which is very strange, because the NBA, while that announcement was made, was in negotiations with TNT and ESPN. So why would they not tell them that, hey, we're all linking up to make one app? Because any other partner would instantly think that this is collusion. The next time the NBA will be up for their television rights, Discovery, TNT, and ESPN are all basically in one app. So they don't need to outbid each other. So this would be a big fucking deal. And this is probably why we're hearing now that there's rumors of TNT not necessarily in position to match. It's not really going to affect their bottom line as much if they already have an option for their customers to have ESPN and Fox Sports.
I know there've been talks about splitting the WNBA rights away from the NBA's in this round of negotiations. Has a decision been made on that? And if not, what are the factors that lead to that decision, whether it's reading the market or their choice or your choice? How does that decision get made?
Well, so ultimately it's a collective choice here between the NBA and the WNBA. And now, if you look at how those rights are distributed, we share a partner, of course, in the Disney company, but then there are some partners of the WNBA that are independent of the NBA. So I think what's going to happen is we're setting out in these discussions, discussing both NBA and WNBA. I mean, there's no doubt, I think, especially over enormous interest, most recently around women's college basketball and the growth in the WNBA over the last few years, that the interest is heightened from where it used to be. So that's wonderful to see. In the first instance, I think it's in the league's interest, to the extent we can do integrated deals and the NBA promotes into the WNBA season, the WNBA promotes into the NBA, and we can all talk about basketball. I think that's a positive thing. On the other hand, there may be unique channels for the WNBA that make particular sense. There's women's sports networks, other things that may bring particular attention, which could be complementary to the coverage that they would get through a traditional media partner that the NBA would be part of. And also it's a function to that earlier question of the marketplace as well. I mean, my sense is that just as a reminder, the NBA represents roughly 260 nights a year of programming. WNBA currently is about 60 nights. That could grow over time. And to the extent we can present ourselves as a year-round basketball product, that becomes increasingly important, I think, particularly to streaming platforms that are dealing with, potential churn. And I think it's also, I'll just end by saying, what I mentioned before in terms of what we can do with new technologies, AI, digital executions around our game. I think we're in the process at the league office, and when I say the league office, I mean the NBA and the WNBA, of investing heavily in developing an expertise around how to produce basketball and what the best ways are to present it. So presumably, by having these integrated deals, we can take advantage of that, of our expertise, of that technology in finding, as Sabrina Ionescu said, at All-Star Game, basketball is basketball, shooters are shooters. At the end of the day, it's the game. And to the extent that we come up with ways that to better present the game, to do a better job engaging fans with an understanding of the game and what makes this player unique and what defense is really being played, and when people can go beyond, as sometimes happens with the commentators that make it clear it's much more than effort. It's like, why is this player being shut down? What is this offense? Presented in a way that makes it even that much more enticing to fans. There's real opportunities to scale there when you put the NBA and WNBA together.
And that was well put together by Adam Silver, mentioning the inventory for the WNBA. They have room to grow. They're only on for 60 nights. And I know a couple executives from the WNBA said that they were thinking about negotiating on their own terms, but sometimes, like a young child, even though they're able to walk and talk, they still need a mother's nurturing until they're fully ready to be on their own and grow properly. And the WNBA is like that. They still need the marketing dollars of the NBA, some of the expertise from all the proof of concepts as far as marketing, how to maximize stadium revenue. All these things, the NBA has over 40 to 50 to 60 years. Well, they have over 75 years of this type of data, this proof of concept. They could pass all these things on to the WNBA. And also they have an excess of cash. They could continue to use some of that to promote the WNBA, to put it in a position where they could be on for more than just 60 nights. There's still room to grow. It's not just about the next TV deal. It's about the next one. You got to be in position to continuously grow, add new inventory to streaming. We've seen Adam Silver just mention that, how a lot of stuff on streaming will eventually fall off, and the WNBA only having 60 nights should increase in every TV deal, thus increasing their revenue. So the optics were nice when some of the WNBA executives were saying, hey, we should negotiate our own television deal. But at the end of the day, nothing beats years of expertise and data and just spreadsheets that show proof of concept. This type of expertise, you would have to live as long as the NBA has existed, in bad times, good times, and times of growth, to have all this data and just proof of concept. So Adam Silver in that soliloquy put everything into proper perspective, and he's done a great job so far as commissioner in the NBA. A lot of fucking changes, man. The landscape is just, it's crazy ever since he took over, and he's adjusted well. And he's done a good job. But you guys definitely hit up the mailbag in the description below. Hit me up with your questions and I'll feature it on the show. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.